Alright, does everybody have their paper horizontally in front of them? Yes. Alright, now, when we do perspective drawing, one of the things that I need to stress to you is that your ruler has to be perfectly lined up with the edge of the paper, which is why I really like the clear rulers so that it helps you see the paper through it. Because in perspective drawing, we're not worried about measuring, we're worried about the lines being perfectly straight. And you guys are going to be doing 1 point perspective, and in 1 point, there's 3 lines. If it's not one of these 3, it's wrong. It has to be perfectly vertical, which we know vertical means up and down. It has to be perfectly horizontal, so left to right, or it's going to be going to the vanishing point. Those are the only 3 types of lines that you're going to have in 1 point perspective. Now, Art 2 is starting 2 point today, and so they only have 2 choices. They have a vertical line or a line to the vanishing point. So it's very similar, but they're just slightly different, and you'll see some of those examples hanging up here as we go, and things looking a little very similar but different. So that's what's going to be going on. Today, we're going to learn the basics. So it's kind of like in math, learning to add, or well, learn your numbers, learn to add before you learn to do multiplication, division, all that. So we're going to learn how to do a cube. Then we'll take this knowledge and turn it into buildings in the next few days, because we're going to build a little sample city together and details, and then I'll turn you loose and you'll build your own city on your own scale, whatever buildings you want. It's really fun, really cool. Kind of like this would, if you like this would be a good career path maybe to go into architecture and take CAD with Mr. Kessler, because basically it's the same thing. All right, so take your ruler, and remember, I'm going to be gripey. I'm going to be harping at you. Your ruler's not straight. Your ruler's not straight. Because as I come around and watch you, if you're not perfectly lined up, it'll mess up your project. So, first thing I want you to do, you're going to play follow the leader. Take your ruler, line it up so that it is perfectly even on the left end of the paper or the right. Doesn't matter which you prefer to use. I'm right-handed, so I always use left. And I want you to kind of eye the paper. And you don't have to measure it, but draw a line clear across the paper. Go clear across left to right with the long width. A line across the center of the paper. Like I said, you're going to play follow the leader with me. So where I say to put it, you kind of look and try to do it in a very similar place, because I've got certain things I need planned out for you to do. Does anybody have any clue what that line is called in perspective drawing? No? Good guess? What? Ground line? It's not. That's not what it's called, but it starts with an H.
The horizon. The
Hidden
hidden line.
line? Horizon line. It is the horizon line. And it is what Megan was saying about calling it the ground line. It is where, that's where the ground and the sky meet, or the sky and, like if in an ocean or a large body of water meet.
When you're all done talking, Sarah
It'll be a while. Okay. So, but where they meet, it is also your eye level line. So like where I'm standing up here, my eye level line is up here. If I were to sit down on the ground, it would be a lot lower. So as we're up here on the second floor and we look out at the buildings, we can see the roof of the junior high, where if we were downstairs, we would not see, the top of the building. So it affects how you draw things. So you have to be aware of all these different situations. Now, on that horizon line, I want you in the middle of your paper, I want you to put a dot for me. Just put a dot. What do you think that's called? Focal point. It's the vanishing point. All things are going to converge at that point. If you've ever been standing like on, say, anything, a road, a sidewalk, railroad track, anything that you've been, if it's a flat area, okay, if there's hills in the road, or then no, it doesn't work. But if you're standing and you can see a long way off, everything, you know, it's real wide here, the sidewalk, but as it goes away from you, what happens to it? It does. It gets skinny. It goes to a point if you could see that far off at a distance. So that's what this is. That's your vanishing point. And I want you to realize, because one of the things I think is so cool about teaching perspective is this is real life. It's not like pop art where I love pop art, but you know, they just made that up, pointillism. They thought, oh, let's paint with dots. It's cool, but it's not real. It's just styles of art. Perspective is real. When architects draw buildings, they have to do this. It's true life stuff, all right? So that's your vanishing point. Now, we're going to start by drawing a square below the horizon line. All right? Now, let me clarify too, kids. When I say a square, it does not have to be a square. It typically can be a rectangle. Mine usually are rectangles. All right? So when I say square, don't think it has to be perfectly square. So, down here, on the lower right-hand side, I want you to draw a square. So, what's my rule? What do you have to do with the ruler?
Make sure it is perfectly lined up with the edge of
Very good. So, on the lower right hand, everybody start by making me a square. So, just draw like two little vertical lines and then two horizontal to turn it into a square. But make sure your line or your ruler is always lined up with the edge of the paper. And then if you want to erase where you have extra line, that's fine, so it makes it look nicer. So everybody just draw me a square, and remember, I don't mean it has to be an actual square. It can be a rectangle. But the important part is you have to line the edge of the ruler up with the edge of the page. See? It's got to be perfectly straight. And if you don't, this is very important, guys. If you don't get this stage, you cannot be successful in perspective drawings, or it's going to be extremely hard. Because it's once you get kids into this stage, if they form bad habits of not lining their ruler up, then it's extremely difficult to break them of that habit. Very hard. They think they're drawing a straight line because they're using a ruler, but that does not mean it's vertical. It can be straight, but not vertical or horizontal. Everybody got their square? No? Okay. Get your square. Right now we just have a square. Two-dimensional object. We are now going to turn it into a three-dimensional cube. Alright? So, does anybody know how to do perspective? Know what to do next? What do you think, Christian?
You just make diagonal lines out of the corners, going one direction.
Very good. Where are they going out of the corners? Where do they go?
The point.
Yes, to the vanishing point. All right. So, everybody follow along. From this top left corner of your square, line your ruler up to the vanishing point. And on this one, to teach you so you can visually see it, I want you to draw a dotted line all the way to the vanishing point. Okay? Just draw a little dotted line that goes all the way from that upper right corner, upper left corner to the vanishing point. Now, when you get to doing your real project, we will not do that. You will not draw all the way to the vanishing point, but it helps you visually see and hear what I'm talking about. All right? So you draw all the way to the vanishing point. Now, do the lower left-hand corner also, just like you did there. From the lower left, line up to the vanishing point and draw a dotted line all the way to the vanishing point there also. All the way to the vanishing point. We've got one more. Where do you think, which other one's going to go to the vanishing point? Which one?
Top right.
Top right. Top right to the vanishing point. Do we have a cube yet?
No.
No. We're almost done with our first cube, but it's not a cube. See how mine goes to that point? Line up here and go. Alright, now, to end this is the part where kids kind of struggle sometimes, this next part. Because they don't want to remember the rule of make sure that it is perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal. Because you have the option of on here, wherever you want to end your cube is up to you. So when we're doing actual buildings, you may decide, oh, I want this to be a huge like strip mall. You know, where they're real long buildings side by side, they're all the same height. So you would want it to be a great big long building. Maybe it's going to be a little barber shop or a little ice cream snow cone thing. And so you'd want it to be small. So you kind of determine how big it has to be based on what you want it to be. But we're going to just end it wherever, pick a point on this wall. So from the middle dotted line to the bottom line, just pick a point, line your ruler up so it's perfectly vertical. Line the edge of the ruler up with the edge of the paper and draw a vertical line from the bottom dotted line to the middle dotted line. Bottom to the middle.
Just up and down.
Just up and down right now.
Just up and down.
Then go ahead, fill in that dotted line. Always use your ruler, kids. Always.
Always.
You might catch me sometimes doodling up here without a ruler, but you need, it's kind of like do as I say, not as I do type thing. Always use a ruler, because in this thing, in this style of drawing, if you freehand something, it stands out like a sore thumb. It's so obvious when you look at it. It's like, you know you just drew that instead of, did it correctly. So, now we are almost done with that first little cube. See, it's got to come right to this point. You can't have that big dot. It has to go. Has to be just just listen. And watch what I do, and you'll catch on. You gotta pay attention. Just listen and watch. Now, this is the part, kids, this last line is typically, if somebody messes up something on their cube, this is the one they do. Because they want to just go in there and draw wherever they want. And they have, so you have to do two things. Make sure that you're hitting that corner right there. Okay? So make sure you're hitting that corner, plus your ruler has to be perfectly lined up. Alright? So line the ruler up so it's even with the edge of the paper and hitting that corner. And like I said, a lot of kids don't take the time to make sure that's vertical. They just freehand a line in there. Right? Then fill in the dotted lines. Make sure it's perfectly vertical. Use your ruler. You gotta use your ruler. Always use your ruler. Actually, okay. Now, everybody got it? Let's do one now that is to the left. All right. So to the left of the vanishing point, still below the horizon line. What's the first stage to do a cube? What do we have to draw first?
The square.
The square. So in the lower left-hand corner here, everybody draw a square for me. Lower left, and we're going to do one in the middle too, so don't, take up all your space. So 2 verticals, 2 horizontals. Make sure you line your ruler up. So everybody get their square. Just 2 horizontals, 2 verticals. Always line your ruler up. This speed will come with this. As you get more comfortable doing it, it won't be so awkward kind of to get it going. What was the... It does, it stands out if it's wrong. You know. What was the next step? How did we turn a square into a cube? Dotted lines. All right. Now, if you already are kind of comfortable with this, you do not have to draw the lines all the way, because some kids pick up on this very quickly, and other kids kind of struggle for a few days. But if you don't want to draw all the way to the vanishing point, you can just kind of draw little ways out there and say, oh, I think that's about how far I want the building to go. And then you can end it. You can stop drawing. But you have to be careful if you do that, because you still have to follow the rules. You have to make sure that kids tend to put their lines not perfectly vertical or horizontal after that point. So angle from the 3 corners. Now tell me this, why on this one are we going from the upper left corner instead of the upper right corner to the vanishing point? What's different about this cube? John?
Different perspective.
Different perspective. Where is it in location to the vanishing point? On the left? Yeah. See, everything changes. There's so many rules in this. If it's on the left of the vanishing point, you see certain things. If it's on the right, you see certain things. If it's below the horizon line, you see certain things. If it's above, if it's on, all these things come into play and change what you have to do. So you have to know how to handle all of them and do them correctly. Then go ahead and end it. I see some of you already are. So vertical, wherever you want the cube, the wall to end, draw a vertical. Make sure it's lined up with the corner and with the edge of the paper. And draw that block, that cube. Okay. Now let's see how good you are at predicting things. If we draw a cube below the horizon line, or below the vanishing point, what do you think you're going to see of it? Are we going to see the left or the right side? What did you say first, Megan? The front. So, everybody draw a square below your vanishing point, just so that it's below it someplace. Doesn't matter if it's close to the edge, but everybody draw me a square below the vanishing point. Below the horizon line, below the vanishing point. Draw a square. So you told me you're going to see the front of it. That goes straight in. Always line over the left edge. Like, straight means lining up the edge of the ruler with the edge of the paper. So that line of the ruler, edge of the paper. Make sure it's straight. Go straight down. Now, what are you going to see besides the front of that cube?
The top.
The top, because, why do we see the top? Because it's what? Yeah, it's under us. It's under our eye level, under the horizon line. So, for this one, you're going to go from the top corners to the vanishing point. And that's all you're going to see is just the top. Sometimes, depending on where it is, where your buildings end, sometimes they look really, really strange because it's so close to the edge of the vanishing point or so close to the horizon line that it drastically affects things. It really changes the looks of things.
And we draw a line
Yeah.
straight across.
Yeah, end it wherever you want, however far back you want to go, make sure that it's straight. The ruler's not right, you have to use your ruler. Now look see that, how that bows? That's not a straight line. Line up from the corner to the vanishing point. Line your ruler up from the corner to the vanishing point. And draw your line back to the vanishing point. Corners to the vanishing point. Corners to the vanishing point. Okay, just like that. Just like that. Oh, doesn't look right. You're right. You just need to finish it. Just give it an ending line. Because some of you, as I walk around and look, some of you are real close to, like, have almost a straight up and down edge on the left or the right, but it's all in relationship to how, like, if you're directly under it on the end, it changes the look of it. All right, now, let's do one on the horizon line. I'm going to give you actually four different situations, but the first one, I want you to draw, let's go over here on the right side, and I want you to draw a square that crosses the horizon line. All right? So draw a square that the horizon line runs through it. All right? So 2 verticals, 2 horizontals. But make sure it goes through the horizon line. All right? Because I want to teach you some different situations you have to know how to handle. Through the horizon line. Take your pencil, Kathy. Like chalk on a chalkboard. Good job. Now, what do you think, kind of from what you've already learned, you know, what are you going to do from there? What's going to go to the vanishing point?
Left.
Left side. All right? So, from the bottom left corner, draw a line toward the vanishing point. I'll draw a dotted line on the first of each one so everybody sees what we're talking about. And then from the top right, draw to the vanishing point. Okay? You don't have to do the dotted line all the way. Just draw what you need. Draw the dotted line. Now, since it crosses the horizon line, are we going to see the top or the bottom of this one?
Neither.
What'd you say to me?
Neither.
Neither. What are we going to see?
The left side.
Just the left side. If a building or object is to the right of the vanishing point, you see the left side. Right? So end it wherever you want. So draw a vertical line. Always make sure your ruler's lined up with the edge of the paper. If you did the dotted line, fill in the part that you want to be an actual cube. If you want to erase the horizon line in your cube, you can do that, but you don't have to waste your eraser on this. Okay, so draw the left, see the left side. Now, go over on the right side, excuse me, draw a square, but make sure the bottom of your square ends on the horizon line. All right, so what I mean is like this, that the bottom of your square is resting on the horizon line. All right. So So draw a square on the left so that it's like sitting on your horizon line. Draw so it sits on, it ends on the horizon. Don't let it cross it. It has to be sitting, make it look like it's sitting on it. Okay. For this one, what goes to the vanishing point?
The right.
What right? Top right. So everybody take the top right to the vanishing point. Do I take the bottom right to the vanishing point? Why not? It's already there. Good. And then just end it wherever you want with a vertical line. That would be an example of you're looking at a building off with a distance that perfectly is even with our eye level, where it's at. Okay. Now, this time, draw a square for me that the top ends on the horizon line. So like this one, I wanted the bottom to end on it. This time, I want you to draw a square that the top of the square is the horizon line is actually the top of your square. So I want the top of the horizon line to be the top of your square. What's going to take place with this one?
Bottom right.
Bottom right to where?
Vanishing point.
Very good. Bottom right to the vanishing point. End it wherever you want. This situation can look really strange on your picture because it just looks like you did something wrong where you didn't. I mean, it's correct. It ends right on the horizon line, but typically it just looks a little strange when it does that. All right? Now, one more on the horizon line. Draw a square that is directly over your vanishing point. A square that is somewhere over your vanishing point. And if it crashes into your others, that's okay. If they run into each other, that's okay. What are you going to see on that one? Just the front. That's all you're going to see. No sides, no top, no bottom, if it's directly over your vanishing point. All right? Got 3 more I need you to do. I think we can get it done in our 5 minutes. Above the horizon line, we're going to draw 3 cubes. And then we're done with this part. Huh? Yeah, almost, yeah. But it's underneath. So, start with a square. I'll walk you through one. Start with a square above your horizon line. If it is above our horizon line, what are we going to see?
The bottom.
The bottom. And
Front.
front and what else on this one? What else? The left side. So from the corners, angle to the vanishing point. It's just like you did below, only instead of seeing the top of the building or cube, you're going to see the underneath side of it. And some kids think, well, that's crazy. You never see the underneath side of the building. There aren't floating buildings. Well, there may not be floating buildings, but can you think of an example that you do see the underneath side of a structure? Bridges? Yeah, a lot of details we do. But think about how many of you have been to like Union Hospital or Circle Center Mall in Indianapolis. What do they have that would be like this? The skywalks. You know, those things that join buildings, you see the underneath side, and I'll teach you how to do that if you want something joining your building on there. Okay? So, in that, wherever you want to. So draw a vertical. Cassie, I suggest you bring a different pencil tomorrow. That squeaking is funny.
Really, it's me.
Oops. Now, you've got 4 minutes till the bell. Try to do 2 more up there for me. Okay? 2 more above the horizon line for me. And if you get that done, put your name on it and give it to me, or you can hand it to Mr. Rodriguez, either one of us. If you are done. If you don't get done in the few minutes, then don't turn. You can just put it in the tub.